What's up YouTube? This is a new video series I'm going to be starting here watching some of my flights in FSX. I'm going to go ahead and caveat this video that I'm not a commercial pilot, so you will be seeing me make mistakes, goofing up, and being an all-around terrible pilot. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. In these videos I'm going to be flying mostly cargo aircraft or military aircraft. I will be doing some passengers, long haul, short haul, oceanics, anything like that. If there is something you guys are interested in seeing, please let me know in the comments below. So with today's flight, we are going to be flying the PMDG MD-11. It is no longer available through PMDG, unfortunately. Luckily enough, I bought it when it was still available. So we've got it dressed up today in the FedEx livery, and we're on the ground here in Memphis. It is a cloudy day. There are some thunderstorms and storms in the vicinity. Looking at the METAR, so it's going to be a bit of a rough departure out of Memphis, and we're going to be flying down to Atlanta. Now typically the Memphis to Atlanta route, FedEx 502 is usually the call sign for that one, is flown on a Boeing 767 freighter, but I don't have that one, so we're going to be doing the MD-11 freighter. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to jump into the cockpit here. Haven't done anything yet except for get our ground power connected, so this is basically what it would look like immediately after a shutdown with ground power on. Nothing else has been changed, so we're going to go ahead and start at the top here. We will run the test for the fire, make sure everything's good, test our cockpit voice recorder. It's good. We're going to set the cargo temperature to the mid-range. That's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have to worry about any of these. That's the starter system. And looking at the hydraulics, we can run the test. We would make sure with ground that it's clear. They're going to go ahead and test. It's going to fire each individual pump up and test the system. We are currently on exterior power, so we don't have to worry about anything there. The MD-11 is a very highly automated system, so it's more in line with like the Airbuses than it is more than the Boeings. So a lot of it's just pushing buttons, not really anything else. And you've got our air system here and the fuel system. So all of it's set to off right now. We actually have too much fuel on board for this flight. That was the original one coming in. And let's go ahead and start the AP fire test.
Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire. Engine 3 fire.
So that tests good.
Glide slope.
And check the ground proximity warning system.
Terrain, terrain. Pull up. Sink rate, sink rate. Pull up. Terrain, terrain. Pull up. Don't sink, don't sink. Too low, terrain. Too low, gear. Too low, flaps. Too low, terrain. Glide slope.
So that checks good. Don't have to worry about anything here. Anti-ice. Won't need it for today so far. And we can test
Overspeed.
our lights, get that Christmas tree, make sure all our lights are on.
Overspeed. Overspeed.
Check all the displays.
Overspeed.
And that looks good.
Overspeed.
Alright, so with that set up, sorry guys, I'm going to have to step away for a second. So a good lesson today is don't try to make a video with animals in the background because they like to get into crap, and then you gotta walk away and get them out of it. Alright, so with the MD-11 we've got a nice little load manager. It's a little bit different than some of the newer models that you may have seen. If you've got, like, say, the 777 or the new 747, it's all internal through the FMSs. Well, with the older ones, they had individual load managers, I should say. So, along these lines, and looking at SimBrief is what I use for my flight planning. We're looking at a total weight of, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and edit this. That way it's more in line. And let's see what the load manager populated for us. Cargo weight's going to be 142.8. So we'll add that to it. $142.8. There we go. And we can generate our new flight plan. Unfortunately, I don't have the current cycle for the FMS, so a lot of these points may be a little bit off if you guys are using current cycles. Alright, so new block fuel is going to be 59,000 should say 800, and we've updated our weight to include the cargo now. Why is it only saying 188,000? And we've got 430 passengers. So that's new. Okay, cool. Let's try this again. So we've got the MD-11F selected. Got our tail. Got our cargo. Passengers we're going to set to 2. No. Well, we'll just set 2, just basically saying that's the crew. And let's try this again. There's our route. Let's go check our weights. There we go. Alright. Block fuel is now 51,717. Ramp weight's going to be 457.1. Takeoff's going to be 455. So we're expecting to burn at least 2,000 pounds on taxi, which should be fine. So in here, we'll get in here and set this to 51. As close to 51 as we can. Do 50. Jumped on me. Kind of a pain, you know. There we go. Alright. That all looks good. CG was in with limits, and we'll send that. So now the X has been updated. We can check. We got our new fuel of 52,000 pounds, so that checks there. And let's get back into the FMC. Oops. Alright, now on the initial page. So when using SimBrief, it actually helps us by auto-loading the route that we've built in SimBrief through the SimBrief downloader. So it's really awesome. You just type in our route here and it populates automatically. So we've got it from Memphis to Atlanta. Flight's going to be FedEx 502. Cruise altitude is going to be 35,000 feet. Set 350. And cost index, I believe it was 35. Condex, oh, nope, 20. And that's why I like SimBrief. It calculates all that. It may be, you know, off here or there, but it's close enough that it's not really going to affect it. Alright, so Our new takeoff gross weight is expected to be 444.39. So 444.3. And fuel is good to go. So we'll go into our flight plan real quick. We're going to be adding that departure. We're going to be doing the Elvis 3. It's not the current one, but that's what the one we're going to be doing to E-tree transition, and we're going to be taking off 18 center. There we go, so we'll insert that. So now we've got the route loaded there, and we're going direct Atlanta. So we're going to look at the Memphis METARs real quick. Yep, so it's showing currently winds 260 at 6 gusting 17, 10 statute miles on the visibility, can't read. Scattered at 1,600, broken at 2,600, broken at 30,200, altimeter 2985. So winds are good for 18 Charlie. 985 set. Unfortunately, auto brakes are kind of hard to get to. I don't have any preset views set up in FSX. So a quick look around the cockpit. As you can tell, it's not quite as high fidelity as PMDG's later iterations. But still a very good aircraft, very highly modeled. It's one of the originals. Now, typically, if I fly online, I would be flying the standard, whatever the air traffic controllers give me. But in today's case, since we are not flying online, we are just going to just be setting up like it would just kind of as a general aviation aircraft. I don't know why I'm messing with speed right now. I'm meant to be messing with the heading. So my charts and stuff, I use a app on my iPad that is called Aero app. It's available to all DoD aircraft aircrew. So unfortunately, civilians can't get to it. But it is great for us. It provides us almost the same basic information like 4Flight or Jepson flight deck would give. But it also gives us some of the military charts as well. So I'm just bringing up the departures right now, so I can double check. Alright, with the Elvis 3 departure, we're going to be taking off 18 center, heading 167, so that's the one I was looking for. 167, and we're climbing out 2,000. Then we'd be on course 153 after that. Alright, so that's set up. So that's looking good there. And for Atlanta, we're going to not actually do a star, but we are going to be setting up for the ILS 26 right, I believe. Let me double check, make sure the weather is still good like that in Atlanta. So for Atlanta, winds are 250, yep, so that's perfect. 250 at 10. So we will be doing 26 right for the arrival. Typically in Atlanta, they land on the outboard runways and take off on the inboard runways. So we will clear this discontinuity. And that way from Atlanta we will fly direct in. So let's double check. You can kind of see how that's going to work. We won't necessarily go to the south because then we'd wind up landing 27 left. So what we'll do is on this inbound leg, we will make an earlier turn. We'd be given radar vectors anyways by ATC. So we'll just make a earlier turn and just run just a basic downwind base, turn to final on 26 right. I just set that up so that the ILS information auto-populates through the FMS. So that's good there. Let's go ahead and set up for takeoff. Flaps are going to be 15. Packs off for takeoff. We're not going to enter a flex temp. Not too worried about it. And let's see here. We got to calculate our headwind since it's not a perfect headwind. And winds were at Memphis. Bring this back up. Winds were 260, 6 gusting 17. So in our calculator here, so we've got 17 knot crosswind and a 3 knot headwind. That there. Outside air temperature is going to be 27 degrees Celsius. And check and confirm V speeds. So we got V1 at 134, VR at 147, and V2 162. We aren't too far off. With our SOPs in my squadron, we like to set V2 plus 10. So it'll be 172 on the MCP. And we will double check, make sure this is initialized on the right FMS. That way if we have FMS failure 1, we will be good to go. We won't, just because you can't set up random failures in the MD-11 like you could in like the 737, 747, 777, what have you. So we don't have to worry about it, but we'll go ahead and prep like we could end up getting that failure. So with that in mind, that is good to go. We will set this to the flight plan page, or the legs page. And we will go ahead and start the APU. If I can find it. There it is. APU. So now that's going to run through its setup. You'll see the fuel pump kick on for it, and it'll start delivering fuel. We'll also get the indication over here. So EGT's coming up, N2's rising, N1's rising. Oil pressure is stable at 7. Make sure we don't get a spike, otherwise we'd have to shut down for APU fire. 510, 512, 515. Alright. 17, oh, still continuing to climb. There we go. It did not exceed 600. Alright, we'll set 2200. Now typical VFR is 1200, but on VATSIM it's 2200. It's just out of habit. And then same with this, we'd set 122.8. And that would be the common traffic frequency for VATSIM. Don't worry about any of that. Alright. Let's double check everything one last time, make sure we're set. It looks like we've got AP power on, so we'll disconnect the grounds. And we will ask maintenance to disconnect them as well. Oops, not doors. Ground connections and disconnect. Alright, so now we're on APU power strictly. So we'll go ahead and throw our beacon on, let ground know that we're getting ready to start here. We are 502, so we'll be starting on the alpha starter. Everything's good to go. Let's turn bleeds on. And we are ready. So we'll go ahead and for this start I'll do 1, 3, and then we'll start 2 on taxi. That'll help us conserve a little bit of fuel. So we'll go ahead and start 1. Alright, N2's coming up. And there's our blue line. We'll engage fuel. Starter's on. EGT's rising, N1's rising. Oil pressure's rising. Oil temp's rising. And the starter should kick off at 50% N2. So we're watching that. There's 45. Kicked off early. Alright, so there's 50. We got a good engine start. Let's go ahead and turn 3. And N2's coming up. There's our blue line. Engage the fuel. Starter's on. EGT's rising and N1's rising. Oil pressure, temp, and quantity's good. Packs are coming back on now automatically. Like I said, guys, it's a very highly automated airplane. God, I can't talk. So a lot of these operations where you would normally have to do manually in a Boeing, the system's doing it for you. So there, that starter's kicked off, and we've got 2 good engines. Now with this one, we've got a standard pushback system integrated, but we're actually not going to use that for this aircraft. We're going to have to just use the basic FSX pushback system and hope it gets it right. Now I know typically you wouldn't start the engines on the stand like that. I'm just trying to speed this process up. So we're going to push back with engines on. And let's see. Are they going to turn the tail? Oh, and they're going the wrong way. So we'll go ahead and tell them to go the other way. It's going to push us back a little bit farther than we want. Just have to adapt and overcome, right guys? So even with PMDG's early sound sets, they did still get a great sound of the Pratt & Whitneys of this aircraft. I would say not quite as good as their later models, but definitely still very good compared to other payware aircraft at the time. So we won't have them get us perfectly perpendicular to the pad before we stop, only because we had to change directions there. So we'll go ahead and have them stop there. And as you can tell, I didn't release the parking brakes. That's another bad thing on me. So like I said, I'm going to be making mistakes. That's all right. We'll get over it. All right. So let's set up for taxi now. Stabilizer trim. We're going to bring that up to 6.4. There's 6-4. Oop, there we go. And we'll set flaps 15. We can go ahead and shut down our APUs. We'll use the engines to start number 2. Check everything one last time. Alright, so we'll go ahead and turn taxi lights on. Gauge that. And auto brake set to takeoff. Everything's set good. We'll go ahead and put transponder on, but not too full yet there. Brakes off. Give a little bit of engine power here. And we're moving. And we'll set mode C on the transponder after we get off the ramp here. Made that turn just a little early. The MD-11 is a hard aircraft to taxi only because your nose wheel's about, I think it's 18 feet behind the cockpit. Much, much farther back than you'd normally be used to. And sorry for the slow taxi, guys. It's been a while since I've flown the MD-11. I've been mostly in the 747 Queen of the Skies 2, PMDG's latest model that they've got out. Well, for the 747 anyways. That's another great airplane. I'm also thinking about getting the DC-6 and looking into flying some of the old historic routes that it did for MAC, which is the Air Force's early material airlift command. And they ran all the cargo routes for the military back in the day. So if any of you have the DC-6, just let me know how it is. If you've got any recommendations on what to get, also let me know. And we're taxiing over here to runway 18 center. So we'll hold short here, double check the threshold for 18 center. So we'll go ahead and start engine 2. So we're going to bring up our pressures by increasing the engine power real quick. That way we can pull to... We'll actually bring that down to 0. Alright, so fuel is off, power's coming up. And into EGT's rising, N1's rising, oil pressure, temp, is coming up as well. And starters off. Reduce throttles back to idle. And we've got transponders set to on. We'll turn on traffic. Give us some SA. We'll turn navs to arm, profile to arm. That way it climbs on the profile. And looks like we got a good engine now. So we'll go ahead, double check the runway. Nothing coming in, nothing going out. We'll go ahead and turn landing lights on and strobes on. Centered up here on the runway. Final control check. And we're good to go. So we will zoom out a little bit so I can get a better view. Bring up the power.
Knots.
80 knots is cross-checked, and we've got clamp. There's V1.
Rotate.
Pull the nose back.
Positive rate.
And we'll tap the brakes and bring gear up.
Gear up.
There's our turn for the Memphis. Trying to keep things coordinated here. We're going to reduce our pitch for that climb speed. And we overshot the line. So unfortunately with the MD-11, it tends to throw you off. I forgot about that until just now, unfortunately. So we'll get back on track here. Go ahead and direct E-tree. And you can tell a lot of turbulence on this departure with thunderstorms in the vicinity. Going through some clouds here. And we'll go ahead and bring flaps up.
Flaps up.
And we'll slats up.
Slats retract.
And as you guys can tell, I get the nice little call outs with the co-pilot. It is a auto-generated system within PMDG for the MD-11. And we're going to trim down a little bit here. Climbing through 7,500. And typically I like to hand fly it up to about 10,000 and I'll let the autopilots take over. So there's 9. That way I can clean up the aircraft and make sure everything's good to go. And there's 10.
Auto flight.
Let the autopilot take over as we climb out, and I will clean up. So above 10, we can turn lights off. Don't need the logo on, so that's good to go there. No lights or warning on in the system here, so we're good. Oops, sorry about the erratic camera movement there. We'll set up on the fuel page, that way we can watch that, and we'll keep engines up on the second display, our primary. We're looking good there, that's all set. Can disarm and turn off the brakes. And we'll continue the route. So pretty easy flight today. Shouldn't be in the air for longer than about 50 minutes, 45-50 minutes depending on our winds. Right now we got a pretty good tailwind out of the west-southwest at 26 knots. So looking good there, that should help us bring down some of our flight time. Climbing through 13.5. Let's take a look outside. Getting bounced around quite a bit, as you can see. Nice little flyby. And up through 15. There's 17.5, getting ready to set standard. And there's 18, so we'll set standard. 29092 set. Alright, after takeoff. Gears, lights up and off. Air panel auto is set. Spoiler handler disarmed. Auto brakes is off. Flaps up. Slats retracted. Hydraulic panel set to auto. Fuel panel set to auto. Seat belts as required. Exterior lights as required. And altimeter set cross-checked. So we'll double check our cross-check here. It's probably still set 292 from the ground, so we're set 292 there. 292 here. And 292 on the center display. And that is after takeoff checklist complete. Now I know you guys didn't hear me run the before engine start, after start, taxi, before takeoff, before takeoff checklists. I was actually reading those earlier when we were on the ground. I had to cut those parts out. And probably for some of my longer videos I'll be cutting a lot of those out too. But if you'd like to see full-length videos or different procedures or anything like that, just let me know, and I'll try to include them as best I can and keep the videos reasonable. I know you guys don't get on YouTube to watch hour-long flights of just cockpit views. So if you guys are interested in seeing anything specific, let me know and we will do the best that we can. Very cloudy day over the southeast today. It's a very nice day where I'm at, very few clouds, sunny and bright. We've been getting some rains lately, so it's nice to have the sun come out and kind of dry everything out a little bit. So Atlanta is 241 miles away. And we should be finishing our climb up in about 40 miles. And we'll go ahead and turn windshield anti-ice on. Even though there's no visible moisture on where we're at, and we should have shed anything that we got going through the clouds. But we'll go ahead and just keep it on per standard. We do have some traffic off to our right, descending, and now they're 200 below us. And we're climbing. Also got traffic to our left descending, 2,000 above us, descending down. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on those guys. We're still about 40 miles out, so we're not going to be able to see them. And we got traffic right on our path. 2,000 above, and if they're going to hold at that altitude, we will be alright, because we should be climbed up above them by the time they are within range. So we'll go through our list real quick, check our hydraulics. Everything looks good, good levels, good temps, and pumps are working just fine. Electrical system, got good amps on everything. Batteries are looking good. Air system, sure the packs are providing everything, kind of see what the temperatures are set at. So the cockpit's set at 75 degrees, it's currently at 77. And passenger area behind that is set 75, currently 73. Cargo area is set 75, currently 77. Lower cargo set 40, currently 37, 64, and 75 on the temps. So we're looking good there. Packs, engine temps are good, providing us good air. And land is set to 1,206. Probably shouldn't be that high. So let's look at Atlanta. Elevation, nope, yep, that's right, 1,026. I didn't think Atlanta was quite that high. So that is correct. So let's look at, we had the fuel page up already. We can bring up another nav display. Unfortunately, it's not modeled in this. And consequences, we'll just list any of the issues. If we start to experience failures, it'll give us what's actually going to happen. It'll list a failure on the left-hand side and the results on the right-hand side. So say we've got engine failure number 2, it'll say which pumps are going to be failed, or hydraulic failure. It'll tell us which flaps or slats or control surfaces won't be controlled anymore, or certain brakes or anything like that. And the config page shows us our tire temps, tire pressures, brake temps, looking all good, and they're retracted as per normal, and our flight surfaces. Miscellaneous, that's where we can also see any of the indicated failures as well, and status display as well, as it will give us failures. So we've got good status on everything: engine, hydraulics, electrics, air, fuel, config, miscellaneous maintenance is checked. So we'll just bring it back on the fuel page that we can monitor that. So yeah, guys, like I was saying, I've got the PMDG. I use mostly PMDG aircraft. I do have one. I have the Quality Wings 757 as well. But for PMDG, I've got the Boeing 737 next gen, the original Queen of the Skies, and the Queen of the Skies 2. Also the 777. So if you guys are interested in seeing any of those flights or me use any of those aircraft, just let me know, and we'll get them in later videos. I also have a bunch of freeware aircraft, but that's about it for payware. If you guys have any recommendations on other paywares to check out, general aviation or other military, cargo, you know, whatever you guys like to fly, just let me know.
Altitude.
So 1,000 feet to go, and we've got an AWACS out in front of us. He should be coming out. Well, no. I would say Robbins out in Georgia, but Robbins doesn't have the AWACS. They actually have the J-Stars. That's the E8. But the AWACS is an E3. Might be doing a training mission down there. Looks like he's heading up to the north. Alright, and it looks like we're about to hit 350. We are set in our cruise. 14 minutes set on the clock, so not a bad climb. Just looking over everything one last time. Alright, so now that we're good in the cruise, another look at our beautiful aircraft today. The MD-11, or I should say the DC-10, was one of my favorite aircraft growing up. I don't know what it is about tri-jets, but I really, really like them. Not a huge fan of the L-1011. Mostly just the Douglas aircraft that I'm a huge fan of. So the MD-11, the DC-10, and the new MD-10 that FedEx has. I think even UPS may have a couple. Basically all the differences between the DC-10 and the MD-10 is they upgraded the avionics and it looks more like the inside of an MD-11. Trying to get a close-up on it. You can kind of see. Got our two guys there in the cockpit. But like I was telling you guys, PMDG, even though this is one of their earlier aircraft, it is excellently modded, just standard for the PMDG series and what that company likes to turn out. I'm excited to see what they've got coming up in the future. I've heard some rumors of them updating with a ACARS system to a more global, actually aircraft connected system that you can use to talk to other aircraft and get actual pilot reports, weather reports, post your statuses in their system. So I'm excited to see if they're actually going to come out with that or not. Because I've always really, especially with online flying, to have like an actual ACARS system or a CPDLC system where you don't actually have to, on long oceanic crossings, talk to the air traffic controllers over the ocean. Because typically, a lot of times you'll be out of radar range for those situations. So we use CPDLC on oceanics to kind of just send basically it's just text messages to the controller saying, hey, we're at this point. We're at this flight level at this speed and we'll be going to this point next at this flight level, this speed, and they will just get that way they know we're good and that we haven't changed anything drastically. So I'd love to see that get modeled at some point. I know it'd be extremely hard and a lot of work and way above what I can do, but I'd like to see it. I know there's a couple I don't know if it's payware or freeware, but they're standalone systems. They're not actually built into the aircraft, but they're standalone and they do something very similar. I know a couple of people have tried them. They've given me some good good information on them. Oh, look at that. Got a C-130 out there. He's probably coming out of Dobbins, up there just north of Atlanta. There's the, I believe it's the Guard is up there with the 130s. So we're about 40 miles away from our descent. So we'll get set up here. Start double checking everything. We can look, if we wanted to, get the Atlanta ATIS. Check in with approach. I mean, we'd be with center anyways, probably by now. If not, we'd still be with Memphis Center. I've got all my frequencies here on my iPad. All the runway information. We're going to be 26 right. The runway heading is 275 degrees magnetic, 270 true. Touchdown zones 990 feet. No overrun. And our latitude and longitudes for that. Let's see if we've got any major NOTAMs to be aware of. Let's see, runway 26 left. 26 right, the Pappy, runway 26 right unusual. 6 degrees left, 7 degrees right of the line. Runway center line. That's alright, we shouldn't be too far off, but we'll see how this landing goes. Rotating beacon. Top fire station number 40, south side of airport. Be alert to runway crossing clearances. Read back all runway holding instructions as required. Preferential runway use in effect. Expect to use runways 8 right, 26 left, 9 left, 27 right for departures. 8 left, 26 right, and 9 right, 27 left used for arrivals, which we already knew. Run-ups are permitted at various sites. Coordinated use of city facilities. Movement areas allowable. Non-movement areas with Department of Aviation operations, and coordinate the use of airlines facilities with them. Noise and operations monitoring system. Program in effect. Call the Atlanta Department of Aviation for more info. Group 6 aircraft, Lockheed Galaxy C5 Antonov 124, 125 with a wingspan of greater than 214 feet are restricted from using taxiway Foxtrot east of ramp 5 north and west of taxiway Dixie, so that doesn't apply to us. And looking good. No major taxiway shutdowns or anything like that. Alright, so looking at the diagram, unfortunately I can't bring it up for you guys, but there is a good website out there if you guys need to look at charts for free. If you're flying within the continental US, you can get on airnav.com. They supply general charts for use, arrivals, departures, SID stars, ILS charts, airport diagrams, even VFR sectionals if you guys are looking to fly VFR. It's another website I like to use typically just in case my iPad's charging or updating or something like that. But that's a great website to use. Another one for flight planning is SkyVector. You have to make an account, but once you make an account, it is free to use, and they actually provide you official routes that airlines are using. It actually will give you different settings to look at, and kind of gives you like an eco route, the most economic route available at the time, and how many aircrafts have flown that route specifically within the last, I think, 24 hours or 48 hours. What else? Like I said, I use SimBrief for my flight planning. Just for the sim here, I can't actually use any of the apps on my iPad for sims just because it's not replicated right. But yeah, so we're gonna get ready for the descent here. looking at the arrival for 26 right. Let's see if I can get my swipe over to those pages. And the reason why we're picking 26 right is just because it's the closest to the FedEx ramp. There we go. Alright, 26 right, ILS localizer. So we're going to be descending. MSA is going to be 3,100 feet. We'll go ahead and start a descent down to... We'll go ahead and descend all the way down to 5. Well, that one's actually bamboo set to 4, so we'll set 4, so that way we can stay on profile. 4 is going to be highlighted in purple over here to let us know that's within our profile limits. And then we'll start getting a notification here shortly that we're going to the aircraft's going to automatically descend. If we don't want it to, we have to change something. Typically, you just keep the altitude at something at your current altitude, and it'll ignore the descent. You only usually do that if you still haven't got a descent clearance from ATC. So still looking at the ILS chart here. If we have to go missed approach, we're going to climb straight ahead to 1,400 feet, and then climbing a right turn 3,500 on the Atlanta 5 radial, outbound to Troy's. And Troy's approximately 15 miles north of the field. So there we go, aircraft's into descent now. Throttle's set to idle. Yep, throttle's going back to idle, and we're descending slightly above our profile limit, but the aircraft will catch back up. If not, we'll just throw in some brakes. So cool, looking back at the airport diagram, we're landing 26 right. We've got 9,000 feet to do it. And I would like to try to get off at Alpha 4, if at all possible. So we'll have to do a pretty good landing here. We'll set the brakes to high. See if we can get off in time. Otherwise, it's going to be all the way down. And we're going to taxi back all the way via Alpha and then North Cargo Ramp via Alpha 7. We do have a hot spot at Charlie and Delta right there at runway 26 right. So we'll keep an eye on that, make sure we don't have any crossing aircraft. We do have a lot of cargo aircraft and aircraft coming out of not only, nope, look at that, asking for some drag, so we'll throw out the speed brakes. So a lot of the FBOs over there, so a lot of general aviation aircraft will come out of that ramp 20 on Charlie or Delta, heading out to 26 left for their departures, or 8 right. So we'll keep an eye on that, and there's also a bunch of cargo aircraft out there. We've got the UPS hangar and the FedEx hangars over there. There's also Hangar City, where a lot of the aircraft, a lot of outside aircraft will get their maintenance done. Alright, so we're back on profile, back on speed, so we'll bring the speed brakes back in. Looking at our approach here on the FMS, flaps 35 for landing, approach speed of 158, BREF of 153, flaps 28 minimum as 155, slats extend minimum 168, clean minimum 207. So with the wings clean right now, we can't go slower than 207 knots, or we may stall the aircraft, but not to worry, we won't be doing that. So let's look back at get our weather update for Atlanta. And winds are 250 at 10, or I'm sorry, that was the TAF. The METAR has it at 270 at 9, 10 statue mites scattered at 3,400. Scattered clouds at 15,000 feet and broken clouds at 20,000 feet. No significant weather. Let's see. 1600 to 0100. Let's see. Temporary. 1700 to 2100 Z. 17 to 21. They're looking at thunder showers, 4 miles. And overcast at 3,000. So actually that should be in effect right now. So there might be some showers when coming in land. We'll see if the weather system generates it. I'm using Active Sky 2016 for my weather generation. Typically it does pretty good. Sometimes it'll be a little off here and there, but that's okay, as it is just a sim. So we're looking at altimeter of 29092. That works. It's an easier altimeter setting. We don't have to change it. So now that we're in descent, it's asking for more drag. We'll go ahead and throw these out. Speed brakes will go out, and I'll start the descent checklist. Landing data checked and set. We've already done that. Wind chilled anti-ice is as on, but is as required. Decision height and minimum descent altitude is set. So we said 3,100 feet was the MSA. So let's see if we can get that set. Actually, we won't worry about that. We'll keep that set to 200, that's fine. And we'll just keep it on our cross check. Seatbelt sign is on, altimeter is set, and cross check still set 29902. That's going to be the field altimeter as well, so we don't have to do anything there. Hydraulic panel is set to auto. Exterior lights as required. The lights will come on at 10. And descent and approach checklist is complete. So we'll be standing by on the before landing checklist. They're about 40 miles from Atlanta. Now I do have the payware scenery for Atlanta, so when we start to get closer you'll see it generate, and they actually did a great job. I forgot who the developer was, so shame on me, but I don't have the developer's name, but they did a great job for Atlanta. They modeled everything in the local scenery around the airport, some of the popular buildings that you would see flying into Atlanta. I don't think this is the most updated one with the new runway 1028. I can't remember if it is or not. We'll double check that when we get there. It has been a while since I've flown into Atlanta. I've been typically doing a ton of military charters, flying in and out of bases, which unfortunately there's no payware scenery for, or even really any freeware scenery. They do some updates. I've been able to find a couple bases here and there. So if you guys know of any great scenery for military bases, please let me know, because I'm extremely interested in that. But we'll see how Atlanta looks today. Like I said, there's supposed to be some rain in the area, so we'll double check that. There's 18 or below. We'd set our field altimeter settings, which are still set 29902. We're good there. So like I said, guys, when we get closer, instead of flying direct over the Atlanta VOR, which is about in the center of the field, we're going to make a check turn to the left about 45 and initiate that downwind for 26 right. Save us some time and some headaches. Like I said, if we're flying online, if we're flying to Atlanta, in reality, the air traffic controllers would be providing us those radar vectors. And I just noticed that the active sky gave us a weather information, but it probably wasn't for Atlanta yet, but it still might have indicated whether or not they're going to load those storms. We'll go ahead and bring our spoilers back in. Air brakes, spoilers, whatever you guys like to call them. There's 13,000. Like I said, I'm going to try to take over at 10. So depending on where that's at. We'll see. Still asking for more drag. There's that old adage when flying, you can either go down or you can slow down, but you can't do both. So right now we're just going down. And so you can see the airspeed speeding up. And it looks like our ILS is automatically dialed in to 110.10. Let's double check that. Make sure that's good to go. Yep, 110.10, and course is set to 75. There's 20 miles of the field. Let me set up for a check turn here. 090. And we'll go ahead and throw those speed brakes back out. We're starting to get a little hot here. We want to try to get that back down 250 before 10. And there's 10, so we're going to be a little fast. We'll be getting our speeding ticket from the FAA. I'm going to start our turn for downwind. And we'll go ahead and throw our lights on. And after I get the lights on, I'll take the aircraft. Alright, so landing lights on, text lights on, nabs on, logos not needed, beacons on, and strobes are on. ILS untunable. I doubt that. $10 miles north of the field now. We continue. We're basically setting up for a downwind. So let's go ahead and retract the speed brakes, and I'm going to take the aircraft as soon as the control 6.
Pilot.
Decide to quit being crazy. And I'm gonna set slats extend. Check back in just a little bit to the right. And And if it wasn't for the clouds, you'd be seeing Atlanta right in front of us. You can kind of see it there in the lower left-hand corner. Got a little bit of a down pressure there. You can kind of see the up and down flying through the clouds. It's not really modeling a thunderstorm for... Oh, yep, never mind. There's a lightning. I stand corrected. Active Sky shut me up real quick. Show you a thunderstorm. So we're getting up drafts and down drafts flying through these clouds. A little bit of rough air. You can kind of see our attitude indicator, or should say climb descent rates, bouncing around along with our airspeed. What I do love in the 747, Queen of the Skies 2 and PMDG, they modeled that head shake and cockpit shake for takeoffs and when you're in turbulence and whatnot. It's a really awesome feature that you'd be able to see, but unfortunately we're in the MD-11 today. And let's go ahead and go flaps 15. We're beam our landing point, so let's go before landing checklist. Gear. It's coming down. Spoilers are armed. Auto brake, we said we're gonna set high. Flaps set 15, gonna wait on flaps 35, or no, sorry. Flaps are now going to go down to 28.
Flaps 28.
And altimeters are set. And before landing checklist is complete. And let's go ahead and start our turn in. Try to keep it coordinated. And the winds are pushing us. Some rough air here. Definitely getting those thunderstorms. It's a direct crosswind on us right now. Let's see, I'm actually going to take the throttles since the computer's not... stop jumping around. And we just started a dive there. Yeah, so like I said, guys, not going to be the best pilot. We're way off course now. That's correct. Let's get this ugly approach fixed in time.
Altitude.
Terrible approach, guys. I'm sorry for that.
2,500.
Well below glide. Actually, we're still above glide. Trying to save this approach. Gears down, 3 green, flaps set. 35.
altitude,
In that rain now, still above glide.
1,000,
Getting pushed left of the center line. Coming back.
500,
Sink rate. Sink rate.
And we've got a nice Airbus right on final with us that we're gonna have to deal with.
minimum,
There we go. 2 red, 2 whites. We're on glide.
minimum,
We can get
Sink rate.
above the
Sink rate.
piano keys at 50.
100, 50, 40,
Now,
30, 20, 10,
Spoilers deployed. Reverse thrust.
that Airbus landed well ahead of us, so we'll see how his landing turns out. Yeah, he's going around.
60 knots.
Alright. And it looks like we're going to make Alpha 4, so great. Terrible approach, god-awful approach. I mean, I almost don't even want to post this video now how bad that approach was. But landing turned out to be okay. We're going to make Alpha 4. On the manual braking. Spoilers are retracted. And we're in taxi via Alpha. Alright, after landing checklist. Spoilers retract, flaps, slats. Set up and retract. Weather radar off. We don't have a radar even on this aircraft. Auto brakes. Let me finish this turn and I'll set my auto brakes to off. As you can see, there is the Renaissance, or Residence. Is it Residence? I forget which one it is. Hotel, that's just out, yeah, Residence. Just outside the airport. Very popular among air crews I land and have to stay in Atlanta. Let's go ahead and see if we can finish this turn real quick. And I will get wipers on for taxi. Alright, so let's continue checklist. Auto brakes. Set the off, spoilers disarmed. Stabilizer trim, set 3. Have to bring that back to my engine page. Nope. There we go. Spoilers trim set to 3. Anti says required APU on. So we got our nice short taxi. Not nearly as long as what it would have been. And we'll go ahead and turn landing lights off. And set taxi lights. So not too bad for the first flight. We're gonna go ahead and post this, mistakes and all. Like I said, guys, if you guys are interested in different routes, different locations, cargo aircraft, military, charters, things along those lines, that's typically what I'm going to be doing. So if there's something you guys want to see, please post a comment below. I will drop the links for those websites I talked about in the description below. And that way you guys can check them out and use them if you don't already know about them. And if you guys want any other information on any of the systems I use, websites, payware, software, hardware, just post questions in the comments and I will answer them as much as I can. And hopefully we can get this series to kind of take off, and we'll see where we can go with it. And we'll go ahead, now that we're on the ground, we'll go ahead and shut 2 down. Conserve some fuel. And to kind of show you what would happen if we actually lost 2 in flight, and kind of give you some of the, where I talked about the consequences page. It's actually not coming up. Yep, there's the Fly Delta Jet sign. Of course, they got both towers modeled. Looks like on the DC-10's here. And we can go ahead and set transponders to off or standby. And we'll just taxi into the right here. We've got an open stand. We'll turn our lights off so we don't blind any of the ground crew. Looks like stand, can't read that right now. Maybe 15. And on the other side at the terminals in this scenery, the gate parking assistant, the automated system with the lights, actually works here in this Atlanta scenery. We're a little bit right of center line, just back. And we have to pull all the way forward for the MD-11. Alright, we'll go ahead and set brakes. And make sure our APU is taking the gen. Oh, it did not start. Awesome. I'll start this the old-fashioned way. We'll go ahead and shut down 3. Keep 1 on until we get our APU started. That way we don't lose power. And we can go ahead and shut off our turn-off lights. Keep the beacon on until we can shut down.